Childcare is in crisis. Across America, centers are closing because they can't find staff or keep them. Meanwhile, families can't find open spots or ones they can afford. There are a lot of anecdotal stories to support this, and there are some studies too, but coming up with concrete stats, like with many things, isn't easy. The American Enterprise Institute examined a lot of surveys and found problems with methodology, conflicting results, and dynamics that were underappreciated, like why working women aren't coming back to the labor force. So rather than delve into all of this, we invited our next guest to give us a hands-on view of the issue. With us now is Tom Copeland. He's an expert in the business of family child care, working in the space for over 40 years. As a trainer, advocate, and the author of 9 books, he's crisscrossed the country and knows a thing or two about how all of this works. Tom, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tom, is there a crisis in child care in America?
There's always been a child care crisis for decades. Parents can't afford to pay what providers need to live on. And that has always been the case. And we've always had a problem of low quality care and people leaving the child care field because they're not earning enough money. The pandemic has exacerbated this across the board. And it's meant that child care providers have left the field, they've retired, or they've quit, they've moved on to other jobs that pay more. They've closed down their business because they got COVID. It's gotten worse during the pandemic.
Is it something that's permanent because people have left the industry and closed, that it won't bounce back?
In this new environment, it may mean that more parents are working at home and therefore need fewer hours of childcare during their week. But women aren't going back into the home and are not going to be working. So there's always going to be a need for childcare. Does that mean it's going to be met by the current system of childcare centers and licensed or regulated family childcare providers? Or are we going to see more unregulated, illegal childcare programs spring up to meet the need? Or is government going to come in and establish more government-run childcare programs? That's hard to say at this point, but the need for childcare is not going to go away.
That's interesting. Are there any patterns that lead you to believe one of those 3 options will be more apt to happen?
That's a tough one. I think we're going to see, we've seen historically a move away from childcare centers, towards childcare centers and away from family settings. I think that trend may start to reverse a little bit as parents look for programs of lower size, smaller groups. Whether we're going to see more illegal care, whether we're going to see more government programs, that is really hard to say. We're still in flux. This is still a crisis.
Is there a difference, aside from size, between the family care and the child care centers in terms of quality of care or price?
No. There's good quality child care centers. There's bad quality child care centers. There's good quality family child care. There's bad quality family child care. And that has created a problem within the system because high quality programs, whether they're homes or centers, often have a difficulty competing with lower quality programs because there's no real financial incentive for high quality programs because they can't pass on the extra costs associated with that to parents.
That's very interesting. So what are the distinguishing features of high quality childcare?
A child care provider, caregiver, whether it's in a home or a center, who is trained in child development. A program that has planned activities. A program that meets or exceeds all state child care regulations. There are national accreditation standards that are higher quality standards than state regulations. Whether we're talking about different cultural groups, income status, it's always a problem. Even parents with a lot of money, it's not an easy thing to find a high quality program. So it's everywhere.
Childcare providers are also paid very low, right? Generally, it's minimum wage without benefits. Is there a difference in the more qualified childcare provider that you just described?
In general, teachers, assistant teachers, aides earn a little bit more than minimum wage, but it's still based on their education and the training that they have to go through to do this work. They could make a lot more if they worked in, let's say, an elementary school.
What are the economics of running a childcare?
Yeah, in a childcare center setting, by far the biggest expense is staff, and that expense probably represents maybe 80% of their overall cost budget. And the rest of their costs are pretty fixed, rent, supplies, food, and so on. So there's little margin for a profit, whether it's a nonprofit program or a for-profit program. Those expenses take care of all the income, and sometimes those expenses exceed that income. In a family childcare setting, the expenses are the house-related expenses, food, supplies, toys, etc. And again, there's nothing really there that they can cut. We're not going to slash our toilet paper expense in order to meet the budget. So it's providers in family childcare settings are going into the business because they love children, not because they're trying to make a lot of money. It's hard. It's a lot of work, and providers are focused on the developmental needs of children, not on managing a budget.
What would be your top prescription to improve the situation?
Parents can't afford to pay much more, if anything, for care. And in other countries around the world, it's government that comes in and provides support in a variety of ways, tax credits and more general assistance. And without additional government support, I don't think we're going to see a lot of change in the economics of childcare.
All right, Tom Copeland, thank you so much, and good luck with your retirement, which I know is starting next week.
Great. Thanks again. Thank you.